Los Angeles. A federal investigation into music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has taken a darker turn with the emergence of serious new allegations against his son, Christian King Combs. In a dramatic courtroom moment that left onlookers stunned, a defense attorney referenced allegations that Christian Combs targeted underage guests at so-called FreakOFFS, sex parties allegedly involving drugs and minors. The tension in the room escalated rapidly, culminating in Christian Combs abruptly leaving the courtroom without a word, bypassing his legal team, and disappearing through the exit. This revelation adds significant weight to an already complex legal situation surrounding the Combs family. Christian Combs is now the subject of a civil lawsuit filed in Los Angeles Superior Court by Grace Omari, a 25-year-old former yacht stewardess who alleges that he sexually assaulted and possibly drugged her aboard a super yacht in December 2020.
I ain't hear about that raid. I only heard about the LA and Miami raid. But you feel like the feds, they released that video over King Combs' comments.
My man, I've worked in law enforcement for 27 years, and I had the opportunity to see HIDA. It's a place, whereas they have the state, the feds, the NYPD, the Department of Corrections, and the state police. Yo, this place could be half of a basketball court. That's where they just got lines of computers with officers of all different people and officers just on the internet. Whoever's over that case, whoever's working that case, don't you know they saw that and took it to their boss?
Me and my dog, me and my son right here, firstborn.
Everyone wants to be around.
His name is Bailey.
It exhausted him.
Look at him.
People just couldn't leave.
Who's your daddy?
Especially the girls. Christ.
You know.
Girls. It was embarrassing.
Sit.
Hard is to get him to call somebody. He like, it's too much work. Like, so happy birthday, Christian. Thank you everybody for coming and cheers.
So stuff.
27. 27.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
We don't got no job.
We don't got no job.
And we don't got nothing to do.
And we ain't got nothing to do. Cause we have to do that together.
The yacht had been leased by Sean Combs for what was publicly described as a family vacation. Omari's lawsuit paints a harrowing picture of the trip, alleging that what was sold as a wholesome excursion devolved into a drug-fueled environment filled with sex workers, spiked alcohol, and violence. She claims that Christian Combs, heavily intoxicated, aggressively pressured her into drinking tequila that she believes was laced with drugs. Audio recordings, submitted as evidence in the case, reportedly capture Omari resisting Christian's advances.
Son of embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been accused of sexual assault. A lawsuit filed in LA Superior Court on Thursday accuses Christian King Combs of sexually assaulting and possibly drugging a woman in December 2022. The woman says it happened while she was working on a yacht that Diddy had chartered. This comes just over a week after homes owned by Diddy were raided in LA and Miami as part of a federal human trafficking investigation. Neither the attorneys for Combs or Diddy have commented on the new legal complaint.
In a new lawsuit, Sean Diddy Combs' second son, Christian Combs, is accused of sexually assaulting a crew member working on a super yacht. That suit was filed here in Los Angeles. Attorneys representing former yacht stewardess Grace Omari say she was sexually assaulted on board a yacht when she was 25 years old in December of 2022 by Diddy's son, rapper Christian Combs. They say his dad, Sean Combs, leased the yacht and had full control of its staff and the premises. Omari's lawyers say Combs turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment. They stated, quote, defendant Sean Combs fostered and encouraged an environment of debauchery. There was always a party atmosphere filled with suspected sex workers, suspected laced alcohol, violence, and sheer disrespect of women and the yacht's crew. The lawsuit also contains photos of bruises that Omari's lawyers say she suffered when Christian Combs violently grabbed her and attempted to force her to perform a sex act. They also included a transcript of an audio recording which they say captures Omari being forced to consume suspected laced shots of tequila.
Christian later followed Omari to a makeshift theater room, blocked the exit, stripped, and attempted to force her into performing oral sex. she was able to escape.
The victim in the case has produced audio recordings that allegedly shows forcing himself upon her and that he wouldn't take no for an answer.
When someone else entered the room, photographs of bruising on Omari's arms and transcripts of the alleged incident were included in the court filing. Omari accuses both Christian and Sean Combs of sexual assault, harassment, emotional distress, and premises liability. She claims she experienced severe emotional trauma, including
It's bad for Diddy. He may be able to get out of it, but the optics are terrible when he's already facing a criminal investigation. This may be the nail in the coffin for him.
Suicidal thoughts and seizures in the aftermath at IN court. Omari's attorney Tyrone Blackburn underscored the gravity of the situation by describing the presence of suspected date rape drugs like GHB, and alleged there are additional audio recordings yet to be released. Perhaps most significantly, Blackburn claimed the Combs siblings, Christian and Justin, played active roles in organizing FreakOFFS involving minors, a claim that pushed the legal narrative into even more damning territory. While Christian Combs' attorney Aaron Dyer has dismissed the allegations as lewd and meritless, promising to file a motion to dismiss what he characterized as manufactured lies, the impact of these allegations could have long-term implications. The federal investigation into Sean Combs includes raids on his properties in Los Angeles and Miami as part of a broader human trafficking probe. In a separate but related lawsuit, former producer Rodney, Lil Rod, Jones alleges that Justin Combs helped organize and facilitate sex parties involving underage girls and sex workers, and even provided a photo of Justin with an allegedly underage girl. Court filings suggest these freak-offs were not spontaneous gatherings, but carefully orchestrated events, allegedly involving cash payments, controlled substances, and video documentation. Prosecutors described them as exploited performances where some guests, including minors, were coerced.
Markey then says that she told Christian she couldn't stay with him unless it was approved by a supervisor, all of whom she knew would be asleep at the time, so this was a way for her to get out of the situation. She claims that Christian said, "Who can I talk to? I'm going to say I requested you right now." Well, Markey then says she responded with, quote, "Well, you can take your hand off my ass for the first thing."
Markey says this is what happened next. She says she tried to go back to work, but Christian ends up finding her and wants her to find him a place to sleep for the night in the yacht. So she takes him to the cinema room of the yacht, and that is when she claims Christian stopped her from leaving, groped her, took off all of his clothes, and tried to force her to perform oral sex on him. Now, she says she was allegedly able to fight him off. Someone walks into the room, and then she was able to leave. And she said when she reported this to the captain, according to her, the captain berates her. And she alleges that the captain may have even been paid off by Sean Combs to keep quiet about what happened. And I will tell you what's really interesting about this complaint, embedded in the complaint are photographs that purport to be Omarke's arms with bruises on them. And that is really interesting. You don't usually see that in a complaint like this. All right, so I want to bring on right now criminal defense attorney Mauricio Padilla, friend of the show. He's represented some very high-profile defendants in high-profile cases. Good to see you once again. So I don't think we've had a chance to talk about this lawsuit. And now that the news is reporting that Christian has been served with papers here, why is that significant?
Well, it's significant because anytime that they have the opportunity to continue to remind the public of the malfeasance of Diddy, of Diddy's son, of anything related to sexually inappropriate behavior, sexual assault, it helps. It helps the government continue to, lay out the narrative of how bad Diddy was, how bad Diddy's son was. So I think it's consistent with, what they've been doing, putting it out there and really destroying his character. I'm not saying that he didn't do anything to deserve it. I'm saying it's consistent with what they're doing, whether it's the government or the lawyers that are suing him civilly.
Legal analysts suggest that although these are civil suits, the inclusion of audio evidence and corroborating testimony could lead to further criminal implications, particularly if new plaintiffs or witnesses emerge. With mounting accusations and ongoing federal scrutiny, the legal and reputational stakes for the Combs family have never been higher. The scene was chaotic. People were all over the place, and it was carnage. He was carried out and rushed to the ambulance. The police arrived, and Lil Rod mentioned it as part of a lawsuit, They then requested the LAPD's report, which was released
to Miss Omarkey. Jones taped this event with her. Yes, the lawsuit provides transcripts of audio recordings, and these audio recordings purportedly show, or you can hear, kissing sounds, her telling Combs not to touch her, her allegedly asking about whether she was drugged. Now, we haven't heard these tapes here on Law and Crime yet, but if they are what they purport to be, that is a huge piece of evidence. And remember, when we're talking a civil case, when we're talking lawsuits, the burden of proof is much lower than a criminal case. It's just preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not that this happened. So the civil suit accuses Christian of assault, battery, sexual assault, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They're a big part of this lawsuit. She goes into the mental anguish that she has gone through, the emotional harm that she has suffered as a result of that. That's important in order to prove.
There are also accusations that he participated in these freak-offs and possibly drugged women. This is what Lil Rod has stated. How would the feds handle proving such claims? It's a pattern we've seen in many civil lawsuits where women claim to have been drugged, and now Lil Rod is also accusing Justin Cole of drugging some of these women. How would the feds look into that? Lil Rod's lawsuit is interesting because it involves several defendants. For instance, there are allegations against Christina Horam, Diddy's right-hand woman, who allegedly had a fanny pack with drugs given to sex workers. There are also direct allegations against Justin. To prove such cases, investigators typically rely on witness testimony, which could include independent witnesses. Although the sex workers involved may not face charges.
I think that if we're talking about additional charges and additional defendants, those are probably two of the more likely. And Christian, of course, was the subject of a civil lawsuit where there was a sexual assault allegation naming him directly. So I think if we're going to cast a bit of a wider net, people are talking about family members, other celebrities, maybe some employees like Christina Horam, but I think the most likely would be those two sons.
Why do you think it's the most likely about those two? Just because of the recordings, the allegations against him? What are you thinking?
I think so. I think obviously they're just civil allegations and those cases are going to be put on hold while the criminal case plays out. But, there is some smoke there. And obviously, there's a presumption of innocence and there's a lower standard in a civil case. But you have someone who's been named directly as someone who participated in a sexual assault. And everything else has been rumors and speculation, but here you at least have one verified complaint.
This depends on whether they were coerced into performing the sex acts, which would make a non-consensual situation. The allegations paint a grim picture for Christian's case. On September 16th, 2024, a Manhattan grand jury indicted Diddy on charges of racketeering, trafficking, and related crimes. Prosecutors claim that Diddy manipulated women, some as young as 9, into participating in freak-offs with paid male sex workers, using drugs to ensure compliance, and filming everything. His empire allegedly involved arson, bribery, and kidnapping, but all seemed to center around these sex acts. Tanya Wallace, a singer and songwriter, told TMZ's Harvey Levin for the Tubi special, The Downfall of Diddy, Inside the Freak-Offs, that she believes she witnessed underage victims at one of Diddy's 2018 parties. She recalled seeing people hiding something and asking herself if they were minors, although she didn't want to explicitly confirm anything out of fear of legal consequences. This woman, Tanya, is indeed claiming that there were minors involved in these freak-offs. The government's indictment supports this by alleging that Diddy was running a criminal enterprise, known as the Combs Enterprise.